If you're planning a custom home, budget is probably one of your biggest concerns. And I get it, you've been saving for this. The last thing you want is run out of money halfway through or end up spending way more than planned. And I believe that staying on budget comes down to 3 decisions you make before construction starts. Not controlling every little cost, not cutting corners, but 3 strategic decisions that protect your budget. I'm Sandra, I'm an architect, and I've worked on custom builds. So let me show you these 3 decisions. The first way to stay on budget is to lock your program early. And by your program, I mean what rooms you need and how big they need to be, because this determines roughly 70% of your total budget. In Toronto, custom builds run from $400 to $600 per square foot. That means a 2,000 square foot house costs $800,000 to $1.2 million in construction costs. A 2,500 square foot house costs $1 million to $1.5 million. So that 500 square foot difference is $200,000 to $300,000. And that's not a finished selection. That's a fundamental budget decision. So the problem is that most budget overruns start here. People begin design without locking down the program, then add square footage mid-process. And here's what happens when you add 300 square feet 3 months into design. Let's start with construction cost. 300 square feet times $500 per square foot equals $150,000. And you're also getting into design rework. So your architect redesigns the floor plans, the structural engineer recalculates foundation and framing, HVAC gets resized and relocated, permit drawings get redone and resubmitted. So that adds professional fees and delays to your timeline. And the truth is, most people don't have an extra $150,000 sitting around. So that money comes from somewhere else. That's when triple pane windows become double pane, or high performance insulation becomes code minimum, or when the kitchen gets simplified. So you get the square footage, but you compromise on quality throughout to pay for it. And you're making that trade-off reactively, not strategically. From my perspective, the solution is to spend time defining your program before design starts. You can sit and work with your architect up front to figure out exactly what you need, not what sounds nice. What you actually need based on how you live. For example, can you meet your needs in 2,200 square feet with smart design, or do you genuinely need 2,500? Because that 300 square foot difference is $150,000 that could either buy you more space or buy you better quality throughout the house. So my point is that you need to make that choice deliberately, not by accident halfway through design. So once the program is set, it's locked, design starts based on that program, and you can adjust finishes, materials, details, but square footage and room count don't change. Because changing them later costs 6 figures and forces compromise you didn't plan for. So the families who stay on budget don't rush this step. They take the time up front to get the program right and then commit to it. Now, the second way to stay on budget is to choose a simpler form. Because of course complexity costs more than size. A simple 2,500 square foot house can cost the same to build as a complex 2,000 square foot house, or even less. Let's look at these 2 houses. Let's say that both are 2,500 square feet. The one on the left is a straightforward rectangular box. The one on the right has multiple roof peaks and intersecting volumes. Same square footage, but the complex one costs significantly more to build. And that's what complexity does. It increases your cost per square foot. Every extra corner, roof intersection, and volume change adds framing, roofing, labor, flashing, and also long-term maintenance. That's why complexity increases your cost per square foot, even when the square footage is identical. Now, what are the things that add complexity? Multiple roof lines, angled walls, bump outs, curved elements, split level layouts. Let me give you a concrete example. Let's imagine that you are designing your house and that you want a bay window in the living room that bumps out from the main wall. So that bump out means the framer builds a separate structure jutting from the house. The roofer creates a transition between roofs, and that's a very common leak point. And you've also created thermal bridges that make that area harder to insulate and more prone to ice damming. So that one feature can cost $8,000 to $12,000. So the thing is, if you know that up front, you can decide, is this bay window worth it, or would you rather upgrade all the windows in the house to triple pane for the same money? So here's the choice basically. With a set budget, you can have a 2,500 square foot house with a simple form, or a 2,000 square foot house with a complex form. Or you can build the 2,500 square foot simple house and take the savings, that can be sometimes $30,000 to $50,000 from reducing complexity, and put it toward better insulation, better windows, higher end finishes, or that kitchen you want. And simple doesn't necessarily mean boring. Look at Georgian architecture or federal style homes. They're based on simple rectangular forms with classical proportions. No complex roof lines, no decorative volumes, just well-proportioned boxes. And they've remained beautiful for hundreds of years because good proportions don't go out of style. So when you're sitting down reviewing plans with your architect, you can ask, if we simplify this form, what could we do with the money we save? Because the families who stay on budget understand these trade-offs. They choose more space with a simpler form or less space with architectural complexity. They don't try to have both unless they have the budget for it. So make that choice deliberately based on what matters more to you. And finally, the third way to stay on budget is to make trade-offs within your priorities. Because here's the reality, you can't have everything at the highest level. And I know that's not what you want to hear when you're building your dream home, but if you try to max out every single element, the most expensive kitchen, the highest end bathrooms, the best flooring everywhere, you will blow your budget. In a typical custom home budget, your finished budget, and that's kitchen, bathrooms, flooring, fixtures, all of it, is actually a relatively small percentage of the total. So within that limited budget, you have to make choices about where to invest. The key is making conscious trade-offs based on your priorities, not what you see on Pinterest or what your friends did. Now, let me give you an example of what this looks like in practice. Let's say you're working with your architect and you have $120,000 for all your finishes. Kitchen, bathroom, floorings, fixtures, everything. And you fall in love with a kitchen that costs $80,000. If the kitchen is really important to you, if that's where your family gathers, if you love to cook, if that's the heart of your home, maybe that's absolutely the right choice. But now you only have $40,000 left for 2 bathrooms, all your flooring, and all your liked fixtures. So again, you sit down with your architect and make trade-offs within finishes. For example, you could ask, could we do luxury vinyl plank in the bedrooms instead of hardwood and say $10,000? Could we choose simpler bathroom vanities? Or could we go with good quality but straightforward light fixtures you can upgrade later? And that's a strategic prioritization. You're saying the kitchen matters most to us, so that's where we invest, and we'll keep other areas simpler for now. Now here's what I've seen go wrong. People who didn't prioritize tried to have a bit of everything. They wanted the bigger house, the high-end kitchen, the fancy bathrooms, hardwood everywhere. So to make the budget work, they compromised on what they couldn't see. Builder-grade windows, minimum code insulation, or the cheapest HVAC system. They got the nice finishes, but the house doesn't perform well. 5 years later, they're looking at high energy bills every month, dealing with drafty rooms, and thinking, I wish we'd made different choices. So they stayed within budget, but they spent on the wrong things. So here's how to approach this before construction starts. Once again, sit down with your architect and ask yourself, what are our non-negotiables? Where do we spend most of our time? What would genuinely improve our daily life? Maybe for you, it's not the kitchen. Maybe it's a comfortable primary bedroom suite because that's your retreat, or a great outdoor space because you love to garden. So whatever it is for you, identify that. Then build your budget around those priorities. That way, when you need to make adjustments, and most projects do, you're adjusting in areas that matters less to you, not things that affect how you live every day. Because the families I've seen who are happiest with their finished homes aren't the ones who had the highest budget, but they're the ones who were really clear about their priorities and made conscious trade-offs to get what mattered most to them. So those are the 3 ways to stay on budget with a custom home. Number 1, lock your program early. Your program determines 70% of your budget, so define exactly what you need with your architect before design starts and then commit to it, because changing it later costs 6 figures. Number 2, choose a simpler form. Complexity costs more than size, so with the same budget you can have more space with a simple form or less space with complexity. So choose based on what matters more to you. And number 3, make trade-offs within your priorities. You can't max out everything, so decide what matters most, where you spend your time, what improves your daily life, and allocate your finished budget accordingly. These aren't about cutting corners, they're about making informed decisions early so your money goes toward what you actually value. And if you're planning a custom build and want more content like this, subscribe, and if you have questions, drop them in the comments. Thanks for watching.